Alright, time for chapter 10 of 50 Shades of Suck My Dick. This book is not getting any better. So, we left off where Anna and Christian are in the middle of having sex, and then it turns out his mom's there. It's just all this weird stuff, and he's like really excited about this, and I would be freaked out. I'd be like, what the fuck? Why is your mom here? And why are you so excited about this? And then suddenly I want to meet her, and it's like, what? Really? It's like, what? That's really awkward. Okay. And then, so she pulls on clothes or whatever, and then she looks at herself in the mirror, and then her subconscious purses her lips and mouths the word hoe. And another thing I hate about this book is all of the slut-shaming that goes on. Like, her subconscious is always calling her a hoe, which makes no goddamn sense. But it's really stupid. I don't get this at all, and this just needs to stop because it's really ridiculous and stupid. So she meets Christian's mom, and Christian's mom is like really excited to meet her, and I was expecting like this ginormous, really mean woman who's just like, nope, I'm a multimillionaire and you are scum and I hate you and why are you with my son? And she's just like, oh my god, let's be best friends. And I'm just like, what? Are you serious? So in the middle of meeting Christian's mom, Anastasia gets a phone call and she doesn't look at it, so she's like, oh, it's Kate, I need to tell her what's going on. And then she answers the phone and she's like, Kate, Dios mío, Ana! And she's like, holy crap, it's Jose! As if it wasn't completely apparent by his Spanish. And so he's like completely freaking out and whining, and he's like, where are you? I've been trying to contact you. I need to see you to apologize for my behavior on Friday. Why haven't you returned my calls? Where are you? Kate is being so evasive, he whines. And I'm like, are you serious? Is this guy seriously whining? What? Christian's mom goes away after he kisses her on the cheek briefly, but she doesn't touch him. I don't know if that's anything significant. I guess it is, because it's a sentence all by itself. She doesn't touch him. So I guess that's important stuff. Christian finds out that Anastasia was talking to Jose on the phone, and he gets all jealous. And she's like, oh, I need to make a call or something. And he's like, the photographer? His jaw clenches and his eyes burn. I blink at him. I don't like to share, Miss Steele. Remember that. His quiet, chilling tone is a warning, and with one long, cold look at me, he heads back to the bedroom. Shut the hell up. Like, this dude seriously is stupid. If he thinks that Anastasia is gonna attempt to cheat on him, like, what? What? So stupid. So then she gets all, like, really upset because he's being all aloof, which I don't blame her. If that motherfucker was doing that to me, I'd be pissed as shit too, because he has no goddamn reason. And so she says, I can't talk to him if he's open 1 minute and standoffish the next. And I'm like, oh my god, finally some common sense in this otherwise Mary Sue character. So that's good. More biting of the lip, and he threatens to fuck her in the elevator. Anastasia talks about how she needs to talk to Kate, and she's like, well, I need someone to talk to about this kind of stuff, about, like, the sex, because I have no one to talk to. I have no reference. Is it okay if I talk to Kate? And he's like, yeah, sure, but she can't tell Elliot. And then Anastasia's like, of course she wouldn't. And then Christian says, Kate would probably have my balls if she knew what I wanted to do to you. And I'm just like, that's really classy to say. And then Anastasia follows it up with, okay, I agree readily, smiling up at him, relieved. The thought of Kate with Christian's balls is not something I want to dwell on. I kind of hope that something happens between Kate and Christian, because that would totally be scandalous and make this book a lot more interesting. But anyway, so then they get out to his car, which is, what kind of car is it? It's an Audi R8 Spider, and he's all excited to drive it, because, yeah, sure, because it's a cool car, come on, whatever. Also, she points out that the car itself, it's one of those cars that should have a very leggy blonde wearing nothing but a sash sprawled across the hood. A sash? I mean, I could understand a bikini, but at the same time, a very leggy blonde, I am offended. I'm very offended. Moving on. They get in the car, and Bruce Springsteen pops on. And then I have to kind of agree with what Christian says. Gotta love Bruce, but did you really need to add this in this book? Because Bruce Springsteen is... It just kind of makes me laugh. And then, of course, all of the music that Anastasia ever listens to in this book ties into what she's currently feeling. So Bruce, direct quote, Bruce is singing about being on fire in his desire. How apt. Moving on. So then it goes into Twilight mode because they end up at this really small restaurant, which feels exactly, well, not exactly, but pretty much like the restaurant that Ella and Bedward go to in Twilight. And, except not really. But I got really excited because I was like, oh, they're at the restaurant! And if anyone's seen the movie, you hear the really awkward dialogue that goes on between Edward and Bella when he tells her that he can read people's minds and then proceeds to, and he goes, money, sex, cat. And then you have the guy who's like all cheerful looking and dreaming off about his cat or whatever. I was really hoping that would happen, and it didn't. Instead, they ordered 2 glasses of Pinot Grigio, and of course Anastasia's like, I want a Diet Coke. Why in hell would she need a Diet Coke? It's bad for you, number 1. And number 2, it's not like she needs it, and it's gross. Number 3, Diet Coke's really nasty. Christian's own mother thought he was gay. That made me laugh a little bit, because I'm just like, oh, alright. I hope this comes into play, somehow. Because if your own mother thought you were gay, I mean, either she's really conservative and has, like, all these stereotypes, and because she's never seen you with a woman, that's why she thought you were gay. Or, I hope he does have some homosexual tendencies. That would make things really cool in this book. And then she asks him what vanilla sex is, because he refers to what their current sex stuff as vanilla sex. And he tells her it's just straightforward sex, no toys, no add-ons. And then she says, oh, I thought it was chocolate fudge brownie sex that we had with a cherry on top. She doesn't voice that out loud, but I laughed, because I just imagined a sundae. I was like, I'd really like a sundae, and not whatever sex you and Christian are having, because that's really gross. No, thank you. That would be really awkward. And he talks too much during sex, and that would make me feel hella awkward. And I also have a problem with people calling me baby or babe or anything like that. Like, it's really, really creepy, and I would just be like, nope, I'm going home. So then, Christian reveals why he's into, like, the whole BDSM stuff, or what got him along that road. So then Christian reveals that he's kind of done that stuff forever, and he states, one of my mother's friends seduced me when I was 15. But I wasn't surprised when he said that, to be honest, because I have a friend who was exposed to sex at a really young age by a woman, and he is very sexual now, like, all the time. And I'm not saying that happens to everyone that gets exposed like that or goes through that situation, but I was wondering if that was what Christian Grey was going to lead to, or, like, if it was going to be similar in any sort of way. And it is. So I was just kind of like, oh. Incidentally, her appetite vanishes. Then finally she gets some motherfucking common sense. I was about to say thrust into her, and then I realized the innuendo, and then I was just like, no, I can't say this out loud. Anyway, so he starts, like, ordering her around, being like, eat. And he's just all threatening and stuff. And she realizes this is what it would be like if I sign him ordering me around, which doesn't make any sense, but she's referring to signing that document. I frown. Do I want this? Is this what our relationship is going to be like, you ordering me around? Yes, I see. And what's more, you'll want me to. And then she says, or she thinks, I sincerely doubt that. So finally, some common sense. Obviously, you're not going to enjoy this the entire time, getting bossed around. I sure as hell wouldn't. Then he has to leave, and she gets all emotional, and it's all gross and sugar-coated. So Anastasia decides to talk to Kate about this whole thing, and Kate reveals that her first time was horrid. And it's kind of like, really? Is this really going to be discussed in this kind of book? Are we finally going to have something that isn't, like, oh, I'm really excited. So she says, it was someone in high school. He was really rough. I wasn't ready. We were both drunk. You know, a typical teenage post-prom disaster. Ugh, it took me months before I decided to have another go. And not with him. I was too young. You were right to wait. And I'm just like, wow, I definitely did not expect this to be discussed in this book. And of course, it happens to another character rather than Anastasia, but I like the fact that they're being realistic. That the first time, or, like, any sort of sex, is not, like, without flaws, you know? There's awkwardness, sometimes there's laughter, and sometimes it's like, yeah, this is never gonna happen again, and I'm gonna go months without doing this with anyone, because it was so horrible and, like, mortifying. I'm glad to know that there is some realism in this book. Makes me feel a little bit better. So Anastasia is back at home and she decides to call up Jose. And he goes, "Anna, you're back!" He shouts his relief at me. Obviously, sarcasm drips from my voice and I roll my eyes at the phone. Way to be a bitch. Even though I don't like that word, this is not necessary. I understand that he likes you, so you need to man up and tell him, "I'm sorry, I'm not interested in you anymore," or whatever. So that way you can stop stringing him along and so he can find someone else to pester. Then he's like, "Can I see you? Have you forgiven me?" And she's like, "Of course I've forgiven you, just don't do it again. You know I don't feel that way about you." He's like, "I know, Anna. I just thought if I kissed you it might change how you feel." She's like, "Jose, I love you dearly. You mean so much to me. You're like the brother I never had. That's not going to change. You know that. I hate to let him down, but it's the truth." I feel like she could be a lot more stern with him, because this whole kind of lovey-dovey thing, he's kind of like, "Oh, maybe," and it's just like, no, you gotta tell him straight up, and then he'll stop. Even if it ruins the friendship, if he's not willing to stay friends, then it's not worth it. But, not like I have any control over this. And that's pretty much it. The next chapter will be her reading the envelope with the full contract. So that shall be absolutely hilarious.